My advice? Don't come for Christmas, my mother said, her voice calm as ever. We'll just pretend we don't know you. It'll be easier that way. I stood frozen in my kitchen, a tin of homemade fudge in my hands, wrapped the night before. The smell of cinnamon and cocoa lingered in the air. The gift tags were already written. My bag was packed. My train ticket had been booked 2 weeks ago. I stared at the tile floor while her words rang through me like a hollow bell. She didn't sound angry. She didn't sound emotional. She sounded practical, like she was giving fashion advice or reminding me to buy paper towels, like erasing me was another task on her holiday checklist. I swallowed. Did I do something? No, sweetheart, she replied quickly, too quickly. It's not about you, it's just, how complicated things get with Jake bringing his fiancée and Uncle Jim always asking questions and you being, well, it's just best. I didn't know what that meant. Me being what? A long pause, then the classic. It's just complicated. That was her way of closing a door without slamming it, gentle on the surface, sharp underneath. Okay, I said. Just that. No questions. No begging. I set the tin down and walked to the window. Outside, a soft December snow began to fall. The world looked clean, like it hadn't heard what I just did. That was when I knew this year would be different. Not because I was excluded, but because I was done pretending I ever belonged. My name is Lauren Brooks. I'm 32, an administrative assistant at a nonprofit in Boston. I have spent most of my adult life trying to be what everyone needed. Reliable, helpful, quiet, the one who sends birthday cards, the one who shows up early, the one who never complains. That day, standing in my kitchen with a tin of fudge meant for people who didn't want me around, something shifted. It wasn't only sadness. It was clarity. If my presence could be erased that easily, maybe I had never been seen at all. Growing up, I was the miracle. That is what my mother called me with neighbors and church friends. Our little blessing, she would say, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. I was adopted at birth, brought into their home when doctors told them they might never have children. For a while, I believed the title. Then Jake was born, 2 years younger, their biological son. He had dad's eyes and mom's humor. His milestones filled photo albums. Mine were scribbled in a drawer. After Jake, I wasn't the miracle. I was just Lauren. Quiet, dependable Lauren. The helper, the placeholder. I didn't throw tantrums. I didn't make demands. I said thank you for hand-me-downs and clapped loudest when Jake made varsity. I helped with dishes, made honor roll, and went to college on scholarships. I worked 2 part-time jobs through school and never asked for help. Every holiday, I still came home with gifts, baked goods, and hope. Maybe this time I would matter. After Dad died, I began wiring part of my year-end bonus to help my mom with the mortgage. I never mentioned it. I never asked for credit. It was what you do for family, I told myself. Yet I never felt like family. The one person who made me feel like I belonged was my grandmother, Evelyn Harper, my mom's mother. She didn't believe in performance. She noticed I liked books more than dolls. She sent handwritten letters even when I lived 20 minutes away. She called me her quiet light. When I graduated, she pressed her ruby ring into my palm and whispered, "Blood doesn't define love." Evelyn saw me. She saw the way I hung back at gatherings, the way I was asked to take photos but not be in them, the way my name showed up last minute on gift tags, if it showed up at all. In her house, I wasn't an accessory. I wasn't a problem to explain. I was me. In my mother's home, everything was about appearances. Jake's girlfriend needed to look perfect in photos. Uncle Jim's new partner needed to be impressed. Everything had to be curated and controlled. I was the awkward piece that didn't fit the image. Single, childless, adopted, quiet. So when my mom said not to come this year, I didn't fight. Deep down, I knew I was family only when it was convenient. That kind of love wasn't love. When I hung up, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't call a friend. I stood in the glow of my Christmas lights and let the silence settle. It wasn't loneliness. It was recognition. I had spent 32 years trying to be small enough to fit, polished enough to be included, quiet enough not to be a burden. Now they had said out loud what they'd shown me all along. I wasn't one of them. They didn't want to pretend otherwise, so I wouldn't either. I opened my banking app. The monthly transfer for my mother's utilities, canceled. The grocery gift card set to arrive on Christmas Eve, voided. The engraved leather planner for Jake, his initials already monogrammed, returned. Not out of spite, out of clarity. I was done pouring into a bottomless well. I didn't post online, I didn't send a pointed email, I didn't tell anyone. I stopped, quietly, deliberately. For the first time in my life, I let the silence grow and didn't rush to fill it. In the days that followed, I skipped the rituals. No tree, no sugar cookies, no movie reruns. I cleaned drawers, rearranged shelves, and walked the frozen park. I watched kids build snowmen and felt something unexpected. I didn't feel left out. I felt free. Being uninvited stung. Choosing not to go back felt like power. They thought I would beg. I found peace. I stopped performing. I stopped trying to earn a seat at their table. I stopped waiting for a space to open. I sat on my own couch with peppermint tea under a blanket I crocheted and felt a warmth I couldn't name. It was the beginning of the end, not of a family, of a role. The convenient daughter, the silent supporter. She didn't live here anymore. On December 29th, my phone rang again. I was curled on the couch watching snow drift past the window. The holidays were over, and for the first time in years, I wasn't recovering from emotional whiplash. I was still. The caller ID showed a local number I didn't know. I hesitated, then answered. "Miss Brooks?" A calm, professional voice. "Yes." "My name is Thomas Callahan. I'm the attorney handling the estate of Miss Evelyn Harper, your grandmother." I sat up. "I tried your mother first, but there was no answer," he said. "I'd like to schedule a meeting. There is a matter in Mrs. Harper's will that concerns you directly." I thought her affairs were settled. The funeral was weeks ago. "There was an addendum," he said. "A sealed document Mrs. Harper asked me to open only after the holidays. It names you as the primary beneficiary." I couldn't speak. "Are you available this afternoon?" "Yes." A few hours later, I walked into a quiet office with dark wood walls and a grandfather clock ticking in the corner. Mr. Callahan greeted me and motioned for me to sit. He slid a folder across the desk. "These are certified copies of your grandmother's will and the addendum. She made several revisions in her last months." I opened the folder, expecting a few heirlooms or a note. One line stopped me cold. "All assets, including the residence at 724 Hemlock Lane, and all financial holdings totaling $820,000, are to be inherited solely by Lauren Brooks, my granddaughter, not by blood, but by love and loyalty." I pressed my hand to my mouth. "She left everything to me?" "She did," Mr. Callahan said gently. "There's more." He handed me a handwritten letter in Evelyn's neat cursive. "If Lauren is ever made to feel she does not belong, if she is excluded, diminished, or made invisible by this family, let this inheritance be my answer. She was always mine, and I want the world to know it. This gift cannot be contested or divided. Let no one benefit from her pain." I stared at the page until the words blurred. She had known. She had seen it all. The backgrounding, the quiet cuts, the patterns I excused. She saw. And in the end, she gave me not only her home. She gave me proof I had been loved. Fully. Quietly. Unconditionally. When I got home, I had 5 missed calls from my mother and 3 texts from Jake. Shocked, concerned, carefully worded. "Mom, why didn't you tell us? We could have discussed this." "Jake, there has to be a mistake. Grandma would never leave us out, not unless someone influenced her." I didn't respond. The next morning, a knock. I knew who it was before I checked the peephole. My mother in a pristine winter coat, pearls on her neck. Jake behind her, arms folded. I opened the door and didn't invite them in. "We want to talk," my mother said, as if I had shut them out. She was confused, Lauren. She hadn't been herself. Maybe the lawyer misunderstood. Maybe you did. "She wrote it," I said. "By hand. She meant every word." Jake stepped forward, red-faced. "So what? You're keeping everything? The house and the money? You think that's fair?" I looked at my brat. Her. He never visited Grandma unless it was for a photo. He never drove her to appointments. He never listened to her talk about books or gardens. "She left it to me," I said. "She knew what she was doing. She made it final." "You're being selfish," my mother snapped. "No. After years of giving without asking, now I was selfish." "I'm being honest," I said. They stared at me, waiting for me to break and offer to split it. I wasn't here to keep the peace. "She saw me," I said, "when you didn't. She gave me what I never had. A place. A home. A name spoken with love." My mother's mouth opened and closed. Jake looked at the floor. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam the door. I let it click shut. For the first time since childhood, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like mine. Not borrowed, not conditional, mine. I was done apologizing for claiming it. 2 weeks later, we met again in Mr. Callahan's office. They had asked to clarify misunderstandings. Everyone knew what it was. My mother arrived dressed for a luncheon. Pearl earrings, a sweet voice. Jake wore a stiff gray suit. His expression sat between disbelief and quiet fury. I wore a navy blouse and jeans, no makeup, no pretense. Evelyn's letter in my bag. Mr. Callahan restated the will and addendum, final, legally binding, non-negotiable. "We're not here to fight," my mother said. "We hope Lauren might reconsider, out of fairness." Fairness, the word tasted bitter. Fairness never came up when I was asked to take photos, but not be in them. It didn't matter when I ate alone on Christmas. It didn't matter when Jake's name was printed in gold while mine was scribbled in marker. "Fairness," I said. "That's what this is now." "We're still family," Jake said. "This doesn't have to tear us apart." "Family doesn't ask you to disappear because you're inconvenient," I said. "Family doesn't pretend you don't. Exist to avoid awkward conversations." They said nothing. "I spent 30 years trying to earn a seat at a table I was never invited to," I said. "Now I have my own. Built on love. My grandmother made it for me with her words, her home, and her trust." Mr. Callahan glanced at me. I handed him the original letter. "I won't contest anything," I said. "I also won't forget." I stood. No yelling, no drama, just truth. I walked out not as someone who had won, but as someone who had stopped losing. I stopped fighting to be seen. I stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. In that quiet ending, I found something stronger than revenge. I found peace. Not earned, claimed. That spring, I moved into the house on Hemlock Lane. It was smaller than I remembered, but warmer, like the walls had waited for me. The floors creaked in the same places. The kitchen smelled faintly of lavender and cinnamon. In the living room, Evelyn's armchair faced east, where the morning sun touched first. I kept it there. Not as a monument, as a reminder. The ruby ring stayed on my finger. Not as wealth, as proof of her belief in me. Some weekends I gardened, some afternoons I read, some days I did nothing. For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to earn rest. I didn't need to host dinners no one would attend. I didn't need to chase approval that wouldn't come. I lived. The holidays came again. I didn't wait for an invitation. I lit a candle. I made a small meal. I placed a sprig of rosemary by the window and whispered, "Thank you." I felt her with me. Not in grand gestures, but in stillness. In the light on the floorboards. In the kettle's hum. In a space I no longer had to fight for. People think revenge is loud. Doors slamming. Declarations. I learned the most powerful justice is quiet. It is walking away without a scene. It is choosing peace over performance. It is refusing to shrink for people who only ever wanted a smaller version of you. I didn't call my family after that meeting. They didn't call me. Through a cousin, I heard Jake was bitter. I heard my mother told church friends there had been a misunderstanding, that they were blindsided. Maybe they were, not by me, by a truth they never wanted to face. The daughter they treated as disposable was the only one their own mother trusted with everything. If you have been told you don't belong, remember this. You do. Even if they don't see it, you can still choose to see yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you will ever say is nothing at all. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment with where you are listening from. Like and subscribe. Your voice, no matter how quiet, carries power.